I'm Mr. Connolly, and the other day a student asked me a question that I wanted to take some time to make a video and answer. She wanted to know why we have to read independently instead of having the audio of a book play while everyone reads together um, during class. And there's a very good reason why we read independently. It has to do with building skills and comprehension in your brain. So I'm going to try to give you a brief explanation of those brain skills that we're working on when we read independently. So we're going to focus on two things. Of the many things that your brain does when you read, two of those things are called decoding and processing through short-term memory. So we'll spend a quick amount of time on what decoding is, what it means, and why we get better at it in independent reading. And then we're going to talk about the limitations of short-term memory, because that'll explain why we need to get good at decoding. Decoding is when you turn written information into sound. So every time you read, no matter what, your brain is trying to turn those words into what they sound like. It's turning it into auditory information. So if you read that sentence on that slide from Hamlet, your brain is going to take that information, pass it from your eyes to your occipital lobe in the back of your head, and then over to your temporal lobe that's on the side of your head near your ear, where it's going to try to decode those words and turn them into sound, and then pass that on to short-term memory into the prefrontal cortex where comprehension happens. That was a really quick explanation of what's going on, but decoding, again, we're turning the words into the sounds that they make. And even if we're reading silently, we are still using our brains to turn words into sound before we can process and comprehend them. So the important point to make here is you can read faster than what can be read to you. We can decode much faster than we can speak words, if that makes sense. So you'll see some of the chapters of Night take 30 minutes to read out loud in the YouTube videos. But some of our students can read them in 20, and really high-level readers can do them in 15 silently. They can read faster than they'd ever be able to read and speak the words because they're decoding much faster than they would be if they were listening to it. And the fact is, as you go into higher grade levels and into college, you need to be able to decode words faster. And the reason is the limitations of short-term memory. So a lot of people get the idea of how long short-term memory is wrong. Short-term memory is extremely short, especially when it comes to reading. It's only about 10 seconds. So if you can't decode a sentence start to finish within 10 seconds, your brain is starting to forget the beginning of the sentence before you get to the end. And when that happens, it becomes very hard to comprehend the sentence. You're passing along incomplete information to your prefrontal cortex. So if you can decode faster, you have a better shot of getting that sentence done in 10 seconds. And that's important because as the reading level increases in college and beyond, sentences are going to get longer and have words with more syllables and be more difficult to decode. So in summary, when we read independently, we are learning to decode quickly, which increases our ability to read and comprehend complex texts with longer sentences. And when we listen to books, the decoding work is being done for us. So we're not really benefiting unless our decoding speed is actually slower than the speed of the spoken voice. That said, if you can read faster, then you're actually limiting the speed of decoding, and you're not going to be able to progress as a reader to higher lexile texts. So we read independently so we can decode faster than the spoken voice on a recording. That's the bottom line. And we need to be able to do that because our short-term memory will start to forget parts of sentences before we get to the end if we can't. If you've ever been reading and you scan through pages and pages of reading and you get to the end and you have no idea what you just read, it's because at some point you stopped comprehending what was going on. Your brain started to forget the beginning of the sentences before you got to the end, and it couldn't make any sense of it. You knew your eyes were moving across the words, but you weren't making meaning. If you have any questions about the processes I talk about in this video, please leave a comment or ask me in class. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Mr. Connolly.